So I've got a whole presentation to go through, and I'm going to go through it quite quickly because I've got a lot of foundational work to get through for me to get to the relevance of gratitude and how powerful and what a powerful transformation tool that is for every single human being. Excuse me. So it's taken me 56 years to get to this point to have this important conversation with you people in this room today. I think that entrepreneurship, small business owners, are the most powerful people in society because you're prepared to get up every day and do what most people won't do. You get up every day to play to win, where most people are playing not to lose. They get a job, not that it's wrong, it's just that they don't create like the entrepreneur does. And what I want to give you tonight is a powerful tool that I was taught when I had to go through my transformation from literally broke to not broke now. So, so the whole idea of gratitude is just one tool, but it is the bedrock tool for progress. So change comes from a changed mind. But the changed mind, it's important to understand that the changed mind can be changed from a progressive or a productive place or non-productive. And that's really important. And what I want to do is give you a real clear understanding really quickly of the human technology that we have. We wake up every day. Every single person in this room has it. And what I'm talking about tonight, and I can give you a lot of relief. There's nothing to do with what I talk about has to do with intellect. Nothing to do with what I talk about needs a university degree. You don't have to be smart. I am all of those. I'm a farm boy. That's where I come from. And then I went into businesses. And I met a lady tonight who's just getting started in a business. And she says she doesn't know where to start. And that's how I started. So you don't need to have all the answers right now. And that's a really important idea to grasp. If anyone's struggling with wherever they are right now, if you've got a situation that you're dealing with right now, the situation can be changed when you learn to change your mind. All right, so I love what Viktor Frankl said. He was a psychologist who went through the war years in the Nazi concentration camp. Some of you may have read his book, Man's Search for Meaning. And he said that the last freedom for human beings is our freedom to choose our attitude, any circumstance, and our freedom to choose our way. And that's a really powerful thing coming from a guy who wrote that book sort of 30 days after he had been released from the Nazi concentration camp. He wrote those words, and it's really important to, I think, to grasp these ideas, although it doesn't give you a solution how to maintain your attitude or change your attitude, but hopefully I'll give you some ideas tonight. So to start off with, who got into business for money and time freedom? Anyone in the room? I did. And is that still a work in progress? Yeah, it is. You know, the thing with business, it's a funny thing. I was just chatting to a lady earlier on, and she said that she works with young entrepreneurs, and most people, they see the roses, they see the benefits, but they haven't a clue of what you have to go through to get to where you want to go. So, if you read that statement there, who would agree with this? Just push a bit harder, work longer hours, and you'll get the money, lifestyle, freedom you're striving for. Who would agree with that? Thank God. Because that exhausts me thinking about it, but I did believe that at one stage. And that's how I started 5 businesses, one after the other. And the 5th one wasn't such a great experience. So my name's Shane O'Donnell. I consider myself a wilderness guide for the mind. No one has ever seen the mind. And the whole concept of mindset and understanding how to create order in your mind, I had no idea. I grew up, I was born in Australia. My sister and I were born here. My father comes from a small country that was called Rhodesia at the time, now it's Zimbabwe. And he met my mum. We were born, they got married, and then he said, no, we need to go back to Rhodesia. And so we lived through a liberation war. My father abandoned my mother there with siblings. It sounds like a real hard story. It's not. It's full of blessings along the way. It was hard for my mother, but we were oblivious to it because we were young. Went into schooling through there, went into business there. But what was interesting is at a point in my life, after I was about 15, I think, I was sitting, my mother had married a farmer. I'm sitting in the kitchen having lunch. I'd come back from boarding school, big steak. I remember it like yesterday. My stepdad used to make homebrew beer, having a homebrew beer, and they're arguing about the price of bread. Now, I couldn't get my head around it because my stepdad had a beautiful 2,000-acre farm that had permanent water supply on the Umfurudzi River, and they were good functioning farms. His brother had 3 other farms, so there's like 10,000 acres there, and they're arguing about the price of bread. And I thought, at 15, I had no idea about anything. I said, well, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. I just said that. I wish I'd said US dollars. And then another thing that happened was I was watching cousins and friends start to get married. And I thought, well, I don't want to marry someone like that. This is who I wanted to marry. I'd met that person before, but I wrote 3 criteria down. Anyway, I'm still married to that woman for 30 years, happily. And when I got to my 30th birthday, through a whole range of events, starting little businesses that grew into big businesses, and starting one particular business that ran at a loss for 2 years, a safari business. My business partner and I got wind that the biggest safari business in the town, which we had started with, were looking for our type of safari business to add to their portfolio because they wanted to list on a stock exchange. There were 3 companies that did that, the same thing that we did. And we did it the worst out of all of them because we didn't make a profit. I went to Jeremy, the MD. I said, Jeremy, you have to buy us. You don't want to buy those guys because of these reasons. And eventually the deal was done. And Greg and I, my business partner, who lives down the road here, we became partners in a listed company. Not because I was clever. It was because I just did stuff. That's all. So can you hear me?
The microphone is cutting out.
It's going in and out, isn't it?
It is. Your voice is quite loud.
Yeah, you just talk. You're loud.
Just talk.
Talk about it, yeah.
So, all right, so now we're part of a listed company, and what happened was, remember I'm a farm boy, no qualifications. So I'm running a sales office of 70 staff, 5 offices in Victoria Falls, an office in Harare, an office in Johannesburg, and an office in London. And I couldn't string a sentence together. One of my business partners, he eventually came to me and said, Shane, can you buy The Economist magazine and read it every week? Cover to cover, you're not going to understand a thing that's going on in there, but you'll learn to speak. And so I did, and I read that for 20 years. I don't read it anymore because I realized it doesn't make me happy. They're really good articles, but so I binned it. Anyway, so at 30, I sit in my office, 2 secretaries, no idea, writing down all the money that we owned, my wife and I, all our assets and that. It worked out $1 million, whatever currency, it doesn't matter. And I was really excited. But I made a mistake. I didn't reset a goal. So literally, from the age of 30 to 35, I wandered around. We went to open a business in Niagara Falls in the US, decided that we didn't want to live there because my daughter turned 4 there, and I said, there's no ways. So we went back to Zimbabwe. And
keep talking, you're all good.
And my wife said, well, she organized. I'm Australian. My daughter's got Australian passports, and they're born in Zimbabwe. And my wife organized for us to move to Australia. She didn't tell me. She said, right, we're going to raise our kids in Australia. She didn't want our kids to go to boarding school. That was the only option. We've got 2 girls by now. Moved to Sydney, opened 2 stores in Sydney, think everything's rosy, made so many mistakes. We ran out of all our money, and I was broke at 35 years old in Sydney, probably one of the most expensive cities on the planet. I've got no qualifications. I've got a really miffed wife because she got a job straight away. She's a bookkeeper. She's burning money. I'm trying to get sales jobs doing mortgage refinance in Sydney for Citibank and ATM sales into places like this. And is that better? Yeah, thank you. And I literally, I mean, I'd never been trained as a salesman, so I was just making it up as I go. And so I had to work twice as hard, and it was miserable. I was depressed, I was anxious, and I had no idea how I was going to get out of that situation. So one of the things that my wife and I did when we got married is we opened a family book. I wrote down everything I wanted to achieve in my life and all the things I wanted to do. She wrote down everything she wanted to do and have and own and blah, blah, blah. And then we did what we want together. And the one thing we wrote is we were going to grow old gracefully together on the coast. We didn't write where. So we're living in Victoria Falls, middle of Africa. We could go to South Africa. We could go to Europe because she's Italian descent. We could go anywhere in Europe. We had green cards. We could have gone to the US. Australia, New Zealand, a lot of places in the world. Didn't even know Noosa existed. Didn't know it existed, had no idea. Had no intention of coming back to Australia. I was living the dream. I was in my dream job, running around wild animals, and it was wonderful. Anyway, we wrote that, and we're living on the coast. We're growing old gracefully together, but when I lost everything, I couldn't figure out how I was going to fix it. So fortunate for me, I found a mentor in Errol Shivers. He's an ex-AMP financial planner who had lost the business. And he said, Shane, I'll help you, because he had recovered. So he did for about 2 years, and eventually he got fed up with trying to deal with my stubbornness. Southern Africans are kind of known for their stubbornness. He was very blunt with me. He said if I spoke to an Australian like that, they would have told me to bugger off. But I appreciated his straight, forthright approach. And eventually he said to me, Shane, you need to go and talk to Bob Proctor and get him to mentor you and get to recovery. And so I did. And that changed everything for me. So that's a bit of a story of who I am. What Bob taught me was that entrepreneurship is a journey of transformation. It's got something to do about business. It's got everything to do about who you are and who you become. It has everything to do about your mindset first and not the strategy. The mind comes first. That is first cause. The strategy is effect. Who in this room, and I'm one of them, spends time getting distracted, going after this Facebook marketing strategy, that strategy, every other strategy, trying to figure out how you're going to build your client pipeline? Who's ever done that? Okay, I'm not the only one. And funny enough, I sold a business last year. I had allocated some money to get started in promoting a mindset business. What did I do? Strategy. I blew an enormous amount of money on a waste of time. I had to learn those lessons again. It's not like I haven't learned them before, but this time I know that I can tell people, just stop spending your money, get your mind set right, create the order in your mind, then you will be able to implement the strategy. That's the most important thing that I can tell you tonight for any business owner that's spending money on strategies that you never really fully implement. You never fully get a result for. All right. So Bob always said there's two critical areas that an entrepreneur needs to understand for them to create success in their life. The first is obviously clarity of where you want to go, the direction, what you want to achieve, and it needs to be more than a want. It has to go from want to desire. Desire is from within. Desire is powerful. It changes people. All right? It gives you conviction. It'll take you through those challenging times where you think there's no more cash, there's no clients, and no one's listening to me. I don't know if anyone else has been in that situation before. The journey from where you are right now to where you want to go is never a straight line. Who in this room overestimates what you can do in a year and underestimates what you can do in 10? I'm number one. My wife, it drives her mad. Don't worry, I'll get this all done. Anyway, the point is that Bob says, and he figured this out 60 years ago and never stopped teaching it, where you are right now is the problem. It's the challenge. It is the paradigm that you're operating from. It's the filter that's interpreting exactly what I say. He's talking bollocks, or, okay, there might be something in it. It's the filter that's not letting in what you need to hear, or it is letting it in. And that's based on your belief system. Your belief system is formed, most of you know this, in your formative years, between 0 to 7. We listen to our parents argue about money. We listen to our parents just complain about no time. We listen to our parents, and we're becoming part of the tribe, so we just emulate. We say, yep, that's what it is. That's how I behave. And that idea travels through our whole life. And it's the idea that's causing the frustration right now anywhere in your life. People call it trauma. They call it limiting beliefs. Whatever you want to call it, it is the fixed idea in your mind that's holding you where you are. So the starting point is the place to start working. Always work on getting clearer and clearer of what your goal is, because that will always evolve. But the paradigm is key. So tonight I'll give you a simple, powerful, free method. It's free. And some of you will take up the idea, all right? That'll unearth bedrock. I love this word bedrock, because through our life, we collect the sediment on top of that bedrock. And we have to get rid of that sediment to get to the foundation of who you really are and how you can build from a positive, productive place. I had a client, I still have a client, he's a very learned guy. And he says, this is just positive thinking. And I can't get it past him. It's got nothing to do with positive thinking, all right? This is changing your mind, changing your belief system. That's internal. So when you do that, you can decide and make it an unconscious decision to be happier on a daily basis, to focus unconsciously on financial success and freedom to make meaningful relationships. And I have to say, I'm really impressed in this room here. I go to different business forums. This business forum here doesn't seem to be a competitive forum. It seems to be very calm. Competitive forums are very tense. Everyone's watching out, who's my competitor in the room. That doesn't seem to be in this room. I commend you, Luke, if that's your influence. But I think it's everyone's influence in here. So the agenda, talk about the starting point, a formula for achievement that is eternal, it never changes. What do you want? Who's showing up? And then the bedrock tool for change. So the starting point, I like to think of the center of our being, the core of who we are, the core of our character. That should be the starting point for everyone every day. And I know some people here meditate, pray, and you connect with the inner guide within you. That is probably one thing that I had to learn the hard way, that's where you start. You should start every day. And you can get to a point where you're starting more moments in the day like that. So it becomes a habit that you connect with who you really are. Who in the room here believes they have a soul? I want to change that slightly. Maybe you are a soul having a human experience. And it's a very distinctive shift, because if you look at the person in front of you, they're also an eternal soul having a human experience. And all of this, the importance of the business, the importance of our mortgage, actually is bollocks. It actually doesn't matter. Nothing matters. We make it matter, all right? It only matters because that's what we associate within the culture that we live in here. Because if you were sitting in the middle of Africa, they don't have mortgages. So it's not important to them. And are they happier? Are they sad? No. They're happy. They're not encumbered by lots of things that distract us from who we really are and what is our purpose on this planet. All right? So when I was being coached by Errol, he did 2 separate weekends at Tamworth. And I didn't have the money. I had to really fight with my wife to pay for the petrol to go to Tamworth from Sydney in 2005. I asked a couple, if I could just sleep on the floor in the room, snuck in there, just slept on the floor for the weekend, because I had no money. But Errol said, you have to be there. I said, all right, I'll come. And he started with this. He said, this simple little thing here centers consciousness. Then if you just take those little lines going out, the top is health, living an extraordinary adventure of life, meaningful relationships, and wealth. And then he said, okay, just put a dot. If you go from the center, 1 to 12, out, calibrate it, then put a dot where you think you are. So that was mine in 2005. I was a 1 for health because I was driving around all over New South Wales eating pies and drinking energy drinks, and I was overweight. I wasn't exercising, didn't see my family. Wealth, well, it shouldn't have been a 0. It should have been a minus because I paid my last debt the beginning of last year. And meaningful relationship, my marriage to my wife was on the rocks. I mean, she was going to work and she was coming home. I'm trying to get sales gigs, phoning, no. And then she was saying, well, actually, why are you here? Why do I need you? So that was, I had a flat tire. If you think of that as a tire, and my enjoyment of life, my experience of life was absolutely contracted after we lost that business. It's not like that anymore. I didn't put a one now, but it's different now because my experience of life has expanded enormously. Why? Because we fixed the financial thing. How did I fix the financial thing? I changed my mind. All right, so Aristotle came up with an idea called first principle. And the basic concept is that everything that we create has a cause, a first principle. And so first cause for us as humans are the thoughts that we think. The thoughts that we think, they influence how we feel, the state of being that we move into, all right? So most people know that emotions drive behavior, behavior gives us our results. The question is, what influences thought? And this is a really important idea. The thought that you think is influenced by the belief system that you're operating with. That is your paradigm. What is your paradigm? It's your beliefs, it's your self-image, the routines you move into every day. That forms your paradigm. There's much more to it, but just to give you a simple example, your belief system is your filter. So fortunately, there's a solution to that. We've got every moment you're walking into every moment making 3 decisions all the time, regardless, all right? You're deciding where to place your attention. Either your attention is on what you have or what's missing in your life. Your attention is either appreciating the moment, or you are winding yourself up because you haven't got what your neighbor's got, or you haven't got the thing that you really want, or the business that you're pushing so hard on to build hasn't produced the result that you've been expecting. Now, the problem with that thought is that if it becomes a habit, you actually never find satisfaction, because even when you do finally get the financial reward, you've made the habit of looking for what's missing in your life. That's a really important idea. The second decision we're making is when we look for lack and we acknowledge that our bank account's not what it should be, we move into a state of, we feel in a certain way, we associate meaning to that. It causes us to feel in a certain way. And the third decision we're making every moment is you're either going to react to that feeling state, or you're going to learn to respond. The science of change is a really interesting subject. And the science of change really is the science of surprise. One of our major emotions is the surprise emotion. And there's not much study in it, but the study they have got has got really interesting ideas. So I'll give you an example. When I say surprise, it's not someone's hiding behind a door and then jumps out with a face mask on and gives you a surprise. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about you're sitting in traffic and there's a traffic jam. The car next to you levitates, takes off, flies over the traffic jam, lands and drives off. A moment before that, you did not believe that cars could fly. All your attention goes to this car levitating and flying. Now, all of a sudden, your belief system has been completely shifted without your conscious awareness. What happens, the third thing that happens, is that your confirmation bias will automatically go into find evidence to prove. So what happens here in our brain, what's interesting, is the car levitates, it flies. Now, your reticular activating system, your RAS, which is your filter, now allows you to find the information, because now it's important in your life, to allow the information to prove that point, and it'll keep proving it so that now that new experience becomes your new belief system. You didn't believe cars could fly, now you do. It's an evolutionary thing that we have. It's a process that's happening all the time. Now, that's the science of change. We can use that to our advantage when you understand how to use it. So, the formula for change: desire plus non-resistance equals desired outcome. I like to use once, because I asked someone today, have they got a goal that is so big they actually don't know how to achieve it? And that person said no. And I find that really depressing, because we can have what we want when we make it a desire, when we make it important, all right? So desire plus non-resistance, what does that mean? Well, this is actually, who's read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich? Okay, most people. Bob Proctor read that book every day for 60 years. He mentored with Earl Nightingale, who was friends with and mentored with Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill, the guy who started him off, was a guy called Andrew Carnegie at the time. I think it was like 1908. Andrew Carnegie was the wealthiest man on the planet. And Andrew Carnegie said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Now, Andrew Carnegie had some right to say that because he went to America as a poor Scots boy and became the wealthiest person on the planet at a period of time. And so he maintained that as the number one formula for change forever. That's how we operate. What does non-resistance mean? Well, most of us are going to work every day, and it might seem like we're going to battle. It might seem like we are arguing our way into success, or fighting our way to success, or like that initial statement, work hard, sacrifice, and at the beginning, it's not meant to be that way. That's not how we were designed. Non-resistance is a law that allows us to achieve what we want without having to go into battle. And I'll give you an example. Non-resistant belief means the belief actually matches the desire. So when I showed you the graph in the beginning and it said, this is where we're starting, that's where we're going, when you grow to the person that you need to be to incorporate your goal into your life, your belief system believes that you can have it. It's non-resistant. So a metaphor for non-resistance is when rain falls on a mountain, a trickle of rain starts to go downhill. And its only intention, it's in a hurry to get to the brook, to get to the stream, to get to the river, to get to the ocean. Its only important goal is to get to the ocean. It does not stop and delay at the boulder, at the log. It just moves around it, under it, over it. It doesn't give it any attention. Its only attention and focus is it's on a hurry to get to the ocean. And if you can think about that for your business and apply that to your everyday mode of operation, it becomes a lot easier to go to work every day. So, mass consciousness. This is how most people are walking to every day. They're facing reality. They're looking at their bank account. They're looking at what they have to do. They're looking at the emails that are coming in that are not that good. And it causes them to think in a certain way. It causes them to move into an emotional state in a certain way. That causes them to behave in a certain way. And then the cycle just keeps going. This is Bob's little create some order in your mind, the stick figure or signalman. So if we take the top circle and say, for argument's sake, create some order for your mind, that is the mind. It's not, but let's say if we have the little antennae are your 5 senses. You can see, hear, taste, touch, smell. And the little bit below, the little circle below is your body, which is the physical manifestation of your mind. Okay? We've got the conscious mind at the top, and if you're going into every day facing reality, then your rational mind is dominant. It's saying, this is the fact. I can see there's a table here. I can see there's a phone there. I can see what's on my bank account. I see my profit and loss is showing a $30,000 loss. What are you going to do? All right? That's observing reality and repeating it. Anyone can do that. Everyone does it at some stage. But that you cannot change from that state. Because that, what you observe, causes you to move into an emotional state, your subconscious or your emotional mind, which causes you to act in a certain way, giving you your results. You observe the result, that's reality. And so you get this cycle going over and over. That's why when people put more knowledge into the top, into your conscious mind, and you go and get another degree, and you've got all this knowledge, but your results don't change, that's where the frustration comes in. Because you've got to change the paradigm before you get real change. Who's in sales in here? Do you know salespeople that you can almost predict what their sales are going to be every month? pretty much. The only reason for that is that their mind is set at that. And there's been studies on this, where they might go to a motivational talk. This is not a motivational talk, by the way. They go to a motivational talk, they get all fired up. For 2 weeks after that, they're really selling like there's no end to the sales. Then they fall back into the old habit pattern, and they start getting the same results. And it gets even more technical than that. But if you want change, you've got to change the mind, and that's the paradigm, the habits. So here's what an entrepreneur's approach. Their original idea, they hold this picture in their mind, what it is that they want to create, cause them to feel a certain way, they get this conviction to go get started in a business, cause them to behave, they take action, and they get a new result. They can then review that result, say, do I like this? Yes or no? And then originate a new idea. So that's what an entrepreneur's mind looks like. They use, instead of their rational mind being dominant, their imagination is dominant. Their will is dominant. The will holds the picture on your mind. The imagination creates the picture. So the question is, if you're writing down what it is that you want every day, if you actually take it and write it on a piece of paper every day, you'll be amazed how, one, those ideas come to pass, two, how it evolves over time as you start rewriting and you unpack the layers of BS that's distracted you, and what you think you wanted actually often isn't. And when you get to the bottom of it, of what you want, normally there's something there that is aligned with what you're meant to do, what you're born to do. People call it purpose, spiritual vision, whatever that is. So what you want is a really important idea. What you want's important because when you set it in your mind, your brain is a goal-achieving mechanism. It goes to work for you. I've got that many goals that I wrote down in those 2005, 2007 with Errol that have come to pass, and I had nothing to do with them. It's not like I was striving to get them. One of them was I wrote in 2005 that we'd have a 5-acre property with rolling hills in Terry Hills in Sydney. We moved here. Now, I never told my wife that. She wasn't interested in all this stuff that I was doing. It was all woo-woo to her. She was doing reality, working and raising kids. And she bought the house, the property that we have in Karoi. It's 3 acres. It's got rolling hills. She bought the house next door when it came. Now we've got like 7 acres, and we can see Karoi Mountain. I happened to bring that up to her. I said, you know, I wrote this in 2005. I had nothing to do with the choosing of the houses. That's my wife's job. I don't get involved with that. She did that. So how did that happen? Is it coincidence or luck? There's too many things that are lucky for me to say it's coincidence. It's how it works. So if you start writing down what it is that you want and you keep unpacking that, if you just made that a daily habit for 5 minutes, you'll be surprised what happens. What is a paradigm? It's a mental program that has almost exclusive control of your habitual behavior. And almost all your behavior is habitual. That's really important. That was Bob never stopped telling us that, and it took me a long time to grasp even the basics of it. Who's showing up at the moment? I'm going really quickly because I don't know how much time I've got left. Luke, how am I doing? 10 minutes. Bloody earth, I haven't even started. All right. So your self-image sets the boundaries of what you accomplish. And your self-image is basically just a bunch of ideas that you're holding in your mind that is a concept of who you think you are. It's not who you are. And it can be changed. You can change the narrative that you are talking to yourself about. And generally that narrative is never really positive. It's all about the failures, all about the things that you did wrong, all the mess ups that you keep reminding yourself. That's not going to do any good if you have that on repeat, if you want to achieve what you want to achieve. So moving very quickly, 2 states of being. At any moment of time, it's a really cool idea that you can recognize if you are in a good spot, which is when you are deciding to create reality, or if you are using your physical senses to face reality, which most people do. I'm not saying most people in this room, because you guys are entrepreneurs. And so you create reality. And if you want to create reality faster, then it's better to stay in a connected state of being rather than a disconnected primal state. The difference is, a connected state of being, you're calm, relaxed, you're resourceful, you're connected. If you believe that there is a God or a power greater than we are, you're connected to that source of energy, your source of supply. It feels good. You're in a growth mindset. It activates, or it's the parasympathetic nervous system that's operating. If you are reactive, if you are activated and you are upset and you are, if you've activated your sympathetic nervous system, you're in a closed mind set. You cannot be angry and be curious at the same time. You cannot be depressed or worry, doubt, fear, and have joy in your life, and be relaxed and be open to new ideas. So as an entrepreneur, learning to be in a connected state more than a disconnected state is probably a number one thing that you'd want to learn how to do. And it's not that difficult to get into that mode. It does take practice, though. So first principle that I want to go to, and we're coming to an end. I think I may have got it. Givers gain. The daily practice of gratitude and moving into a creative energy of appreciation is profound. It's overlooked by most people. It's underrated by most people. It's feminine for most blokes, so they don't do it. But it is simple, it's liberating, and it's for free. You get to do it, all right? I pressed the wrong button. Okay. So there's been medical research on it. There's plenty. If you Google it, you'll find it, all right? Associated with greater happiness. Harvard built stronger relationships. This is why I thought it was important here, because it helps you. If you set yourself up with a practice of gratitude, daily practice of gratitude, and you set yourself up before you came to a networking meeting, you'd probably connect with another person a lot easier than if you just lobbed up after you've been at work dealing with an upset client or whatever issue that you've been dealing with. If you're going to invest the time here, why not get yourself prepared so that you can take advantage of all these people that have decided to come here. So I want to say I appreciate all of you for coming here. I know you haven't come to listen to me, but you are listening to me, and I appreciate that, because you could be doing anything else, but you're not. You're here. I think it was, I got berated for not coming last month because I literally completely forgot. But Mark said to me that he's never missed one. So you missed 4. I took it on the chin. Thank you. All right. So here at this research, they figured out that if you did 15 minutes a day of practice of gratitude, and I'll give you an idea of what we're doing, 5 days a week, 6 weeks, promotes lasting change of perspective. That's phenomenal, because that's changing your belief system, all right? That's changing your paradigm and positively affect physical health. Gratitude changes the giver, not just the receiver. And creating a powerful human connection between the giver and the receiver. This is why it's so important, I think, and I'm glad it was Luke's idea for me to talk about this idea, but I think Luke has hit it on the head. Gratitude requires just a simple decision and just a bit of discipline. All you've got to do is make it a habit. There's people in this room that are on this WhatsApp group that we have that are giving me a thumbs up every day because I know, and that's telling me that they're actually doing their gratitude 15 minutes, whatever it is, they're doing it every day. That's going to have those results. So it's to say bloody exciting, I think it is, because what is it costing you? Nothing, all right? The daily practice of gratitude, what can you do? Well, if you join this group that we've got, I've got 2 videos. One is from Bob Proctor of a principle or a method that he introduced to his business partner, Sandy Gallagher, changed things for her massively, changed one of her clients' outcomes. She was an attorney, and one of her clients had a massive business, I think it was a 100 million turnover business, phoned her for advice on, and he thought he was talking to a lawyer, and she said, start this daily practice of gratitude. Now, the guy's business, he was about to lose his business. The guy laughed. Anyway, she convinced him. He did it. He turned his businesses around. Why? He changed the energy that he was operating at. The anger, hate, disappointment is not as powerful as appreciation. If thoughts are the most powerful energy that we understand, then love and appreciation would be up there and the rest is down here. So if you're operating at this level, flicking up or learning to move up to satisfaction, kind of on the border, move up to steps up in the emotional scale, is better than staying where you are. And all it does is a daily practice of gratitude. So what can you do? Well, simple. Write 10 things that you appreciate in your life. Write 10 things every day. It might be the same thing, it might be different. Write 5 things that you appreciate, like your health, your wealth, your happiness, your partner, your children. Be very specific what you appreciate about them. Just one thing. Because what are you doing is you're training your brain, goal-seeking mechanism, to find that in them. If you're saying, I'm really irritated because she doesn't blah, 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 your mind is going to pick that up all the time. It's what's important, all right? So then 5 things, write 5 things that you already have and 5 things that you anticipate are coming. Send love to 3 people that are irritating you, that are hurting you, that have hurt you. Why? That is letting go of resistance. It's letting it go. It's hurting you, not them. And then just ask for guidance from your inner guide. And then the last thing, transform every networking event by just setting up a simple method for yourself to set yourself up for these events. I'll give you a quick story. My wife did I don't know if, has anyone read Rhonda Byrne's gratitude book? Okay. My wife and I decided to do that a couple of years back. And we weren't in a good space. We were working hard and all that, and we did the gratitude thing. One thing my wife hates is shopping. She just gets bored. Anyway, she walked into a shop in the Civic. She needed to get something because she was going to a concert in Brisbane. And the lady that was serving was leaning against, and my wife's, okay, how am I going to change it? So she just filled the room with what she believed was love and walked into the room and didn't take any notice. Next minute, the young lady came over. They started a conversation. It was the best sales experience my wife's ever had. Turns out she's going to the same event. They meet up at the event. It was a wonderful evening. It just changed like that. Is that coincidence? Well, my wife's never had that experience before. She intentionally sent love into that room because we had read about that article in the morning. So if everyone walked into this room sending love, do you think we would lift the energy of the room? I want to give you a practical example. Did anyone come to the Matters magazine launch? Oh, there's a few people. I don't know if you remember. I remember when Shari got up and she started talking about her love and appreciation for Luke, for what he did when she was in a tough place. I felt it. I don't know if anyone else felt it. I was at the back of the room. What is that? That's what we are. We are powerful beyond what we even consider. And it all starts with these thoughts. Join the 90-day challenge. Go into 2025 from a different point of view. I challenge you. And I appreciate it, Luke, that you did that. That's clever. That's all you have to do is take a photo of that. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, happy.